So this lesson is actually going to be pretty quick. We're going to learn about cumulative relative frequency graphs. A cumulative relative frequency graph plots points corresponding to a percentile. The consecutive points are connected when you form your graph. So, in your notes, you should already have a table, and it has the age of the first 44 presidents when they were inaugurated. So this one does not have Trump in it, or Biden. So if you look, they already have our ages, and they did them in intervals of 4. Next, we have the frequency. The frequency tells us, I'll zoom in. The frequency says how many presidents. If you already wrote yours, make sure that you're writing inside of it. Let me know if you need Post-its. You should be annotating your notes. So the frequency tells you, I'm in the meeting. The frequency tells you how many presidents. So if I read this, there were 2 presidents that were in between 40 and 44. How many presidents were in between 45 and 49? 7. How many were in between 60 and 64? How many were in between 60 and 64? 7. Right, great. So, here's the thing I'm going to warn you. If you didn't write your notes like I asked you to, guess what? You might as well just watch me, because I'm not waiting for you. Let's go. You don't just put your phone up at this point. Headphones.
Huh?
Take out your headphones.
Oh, sorry.
It's okay. We'll give you a moment.
Sorry.
Take out your other headphones too. Thank you. All right, so what you're going to see now are your relative frequencies. Copy this down if yours is blank. Relative frequency means that we did the frequency over the total. So we did the amount, 2, over how many there were in total. So it was the number over the total. Where's the thing I gave you last time? Where's the thing I gave you last time?
Where?
Yeah, where is it? Where's the thing I gave you last time? Okay. So for each and every one, they did the math. They did the number over the total. I see one student checking the math and practicing. That's perfectly fine. So remember, what we did was we found the relative frequency. So for the first one here, if I had 2 presidents that were in between 40 and 44, I then divided by 44. The next one, I had 7 presidents over 44. The next one, I had 13 presidents over 44. The next one, I had 12 presidents in between 55 and 59. The next one, I had 7 presidents in between 60 and 64. The next one, I had 3 presidents over 44 in total. So what you're about to see is called the cumulative relative frequency. So this is the part that you need to pay attention to, even if you're copying it down. Because if you ask me for help, I'm literally going to tell you to go back into your notes. Okay, so pay attention. So let's talk about cumulative frequencies. When I do cumulative frequencies, I'm going to add the previous. I'll call it add the last. So for instance, there's nothing that is before 2, so I left it as 2. 9 came from 2 plus 7. Here's the 2, here's the 7. Next, 22 came from 2 plus 7 plus 13. 34 came from 2 plus 7 plus 13 plus 12. 41 came from 34 plus 7. And then 44 is all of them. That is my cumulative frequency. Cumulative, like a cumulative grade is all of your grades together. So in order to find your cumulative frequency, I added the previous numbers from the last table. Let me know if you need me to state that again. All right, now let's do the next step. Is everybody good at where I got 2, 9, 22, 34, 41, and 44 from? Okay, so now let's do the cumulative relative frequency. In order to find the cumulative relative frequency, I'm going to take my number and I'm going to divide it by 44. So I'm going to have 2. Hold on, let me make that a bit bigger. So this is called your cumulative relative frequency. So I'm going to do a relative frequency, but this time I'm going to use the cumulative numbers that I have. That means I have 2 over 44. Next, I have 9 over 44. That's the reason why we added those numbers to begin with. Now I have 22 over 44. I have 34 over 44. I have 41 over 44. And I have 44. What's 44 over 44? What is it as a percentage? Thank you. It is 100%. So notice how my cumulative frequency will always equal to 100. So what I want you to do is I want you to practice. I want you to give me the decimal. I want the decimals for each. Practice. Give me the decimals for each. If you didn't finish your notes, now it's a great time for you to practice. If you did copy down your notes beforehand, I want you to verify it. So take your calculator. You should either be verifying or you should be doing it. So keep going. We did 2 over 44. I'll show the answers in a moment. Now do 9 over 44. I'm going to give you about 1 more minute. Yeah? Yeah. What did you say? Have you sent a fraction into a decimal? I'm saying, okay.
That's correct.
Your decimal. Okay, seems like we need 1 more minute. Okay. Here's what you would have. Here are my percentages. I put my decimals into percents. And notice how I created a graph. So your graph plots the percentage as well as the age. So the first number starts from 40. From 40 to 45, we put at, well, 40 is 0. There's no one that was younger than 40. Then at 45, that's where you see your 4.5%. So I'm going to draw some points in here to help you out. So now this is where everyone younger than 40, so I'm going to do less than 40, 5, comma, 4.5%. This one here is going to be everyone that's less than 50. I'm going to erase it. I'm just going to write it a bit smaller, okay? I'm going to write the same stuff. You'll be fine. You'll be fine. So this one here, this is everyone that's younger than 40. That's 0%, okay? So this sign right here, this less than sign means younger. No one is younger than 40. Does anyone remember the age you have to be in order to be president? 34. Not 34, but that's close. 35. 35. That was not close, though. I'm impressed. I'll put in a good word with Suarez. Okay, so everyone that was younger than 45, There was 4.5% of people who were younger than 45. The percentage of people who were younger than 50 has to be 20.5. Remember that also includes these people here. So that's why it's increasing. It includes everyone before it. The next one is everyone who's younger than 55. You should be annotating your notes. Don't look at me. Because remember last time, if your notes aren't good, did it help you on your quizzes and tests? No. So make good notes. I'll wait for you to make this graph. Kind of. Younger than 60? What is that? 50. Very good, 50 seconds. So 45, 50, 55. Now everybody younger than 60. There you go. That's how you learn. Talk to your teacher. Your professors get lonely, so when you start talking to them, they get excited. Less than 60, there was 77% of them that were less than 60. That's 93, thank you. People who are less than 65, about 93.2%. Lastly, everyone who was under the age of 70, 100%. Now, the good news is you won't have to make cumulative relative frequency graphs. That's the good news. You won't have to make it. However, you're going to have to read it. So in your notes, if you do not have this data here where you can understand each point, you're going to hurt yourself. These data points here are the most important part, so make sure you copy that down. Human, copy it down and take out your headphones for me. I only have you take out your headphones when you're not focused. So maybe next time, guys will know that. Happy copy points. After this, we're going to do 2 examples. Oh, okay. So what you have to do is you have to take your glasses and really press to the spot where your nose. You don't want any hot air going up into your eye. And put your glasses, so I put this part. That will work. Okay? Alright, y'all, we have our points. Alright, now let's do some examples. Remember, it doesn't matter if you know necessarily how to do it. We want to make sure we know how to read it. So here's an example about state median household income. The cumulative relative frequency graph shows the distribution of median household incomes for the 50 states and the District of Columbia in a recent year. Use the cumulative relative frequency graph for the state income data to answer each question. At what percentile is California with a median household income of $57,445? So the first thing that you want to do is you want to figure out what they told us. They already gave us information. They told us that the median household income that we're looking for is $57,445. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go into my graph. I'm going to make it big for us. If we're already looking for money, are we looking for do we know the x-axis or do we know the y-axis? Y. So I'll state it again. Give me 1 second. So the question asked us for the household median income, so we know already that the household income is this much. They want us to tell them what the percentile is. So I'm trying to figure out, where do I start? I start with what I know. So is the median household income on the y-axis, or is the median household income on the x-axis? So let's try to figure out where 57 would be. I would say 57 would be like right around here. Maybe a little closer. Be right around here. Y'all agree with me? Now right here, I'm gonna just that'd be about 57,445,000. Now, if I want to find the percentile, I need to find where that number is on my line. So you might want to either take a ruler, your phone, something that is straight. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to make a straight line straight up, because what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to find a point on this line here. So here is where I found the point on my line. Does anybody want me to go over that again? So, the line, the thing that's in purple, is the most important. I want to find the point on my purple line that's about $57,000. If I can find that point, my y value will give me the percentile. So, I went with what I knew. I knew that my x value was 57. I guess 57 was about here, so I made a straight line up so I can meet my purple line. So if I go the opposite way to try to find my y value, notice how I'm more or less right under 0.8. So that means that I'm really close to the 80th percentile. So I I would guess that I'm like 79, 78-ish. Does that help? So let's see the answer. Or I see somebody writing. I'll give you a second. Do you have a question so I can answer it, or are you okay? It's a different one than the one we did, yes. It's the next example. All right, so moving forward, here's your answer. California is at the 78th percentile for household income. What that means is that's why people they'll be like, oh, you live in California, oh, you fancy. Because on paper, we usually make more money than someone at a different state, like Mississippi. But we know that things cost more. Have you seen gas prices? Right. Gas prices are not like that in Missouri. We have one more example and then we're done. Last one. We have the same graph, but now they want us to estimate and interpret the first quartile in this distribution. So here's my question to you, y'all. Let's go back to our chapter from last semester. First quartile. What number is that? What do you say? Yeah, not the first number on the chart, but the first quartile, like in general. Quartiles in general. When you think of quart, you're splitting something into how much? How much? Not half, a quarter. Hold on, let me walk you through it. So a quartile means you split something up in fours, right? Right? Like a quarter. What's the first quarter? 25. So when they say the first quartile, they want to know the first 25%. So I want you to think, where is 25%? Is 25% on your x-axis, or is 25% on your y-axis? I guess I can read it. Everybody. It's okay. I love the fact you're talking to me. It's awesome. Take a second and read. Okay? Your x-axis is the income. Your y is the relative frequency. The relative frequency tells you everything that is less than or equal to. It's exciting. Come on, less than or equal to. You remember that vocabulary that's less than or equal to? Okay, so that means it's on your y. 25%, if I could guess, is about right. That's a little too little. Hold on, let me try to make that a little bit. Actually, that actually works pretty well. So let's just say 25% is about right there, correct? We're just going to use that point skew. That means at that point, I need to figure out what that x value is. So I'm going to just right out here. Please forgive my lines. I want to make sure they were straight, but they're not perfect. So I would therefore say that my household median, I would therefore say that my household median income is probably about $45,000. So notice, based upon what they tell us, that's where we start. And we're trying to find that point on our cumulative relative frequency graph. So that's what I mean by, we don't really care about the graph itself, we want the numbers and data from it. So they want us to estimate and interpret the first quartile. So once again, before I show you the answer, how many things do you need to put in your answer? How many verbs do you see? Estimate and interpret the first quartile of the distribution. 2. What are the 2 things I have to do? I heard you say it, love. And what's the other thing? So when you see your answer, if you do not give me both, you're wrong. Okay? So the first quartile of the distribution is the 25th percentile. Thank you for that information. About 25% of median incomes have less than or equal to, so all of this right here, that was them interpreting it. The estimation is number 1. Then if you just say, all right, miss, my answer is 45,000, I would be like, you have right. I want my interpretation as well.